Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Excuse me. Um, okay, so markets are a little whip around there on those inflation numbers, which came out worse than expected, and they're popping right back up again. So pretty much about unchanged here pre-market. I suspect a couple of things. Everybody's probably waiting for the debt thing to come out, but those inflation numbers weren't good. And when I think that 13-week T-bill was giving us a heads up. If you remember at the beginning of the week, pointed out, that they had popped up there. So it's suggesting that they're going to raise interest rates again, and everybody's saying no, unless something changes significantly between now and when they meet next month. And I'm sure we would see this drop here if that was the case. I guess they're going to raise again. And that's what this is suggesting anyway. So we'll keep that in mind. Interest rates were popping up. There's the 10-year. They were popping up there toward this resistance area. And everything is waiting to hear the big news. What is Washington going to do? All right. The dollar's down a little bit. You can see here, and just a little bit of reprieve in silver and gold. They're up a little bit, but still in some trouble. And you can see a little move up there. They have not reached their destination yet. You can see the igniting bar down in silver from a few weeks ago, and then just one day, and the day's not over yet, to see where that is going to stop. We got a little bit of support there. The 200 MA is down below, but nothing to consider for longs. And I think we're going to see much anything different here. So what I would point out with this pattern, now, forgetting news, this pattern at times ends up in a measured move lower. And you say, why? And some of you are going, well, what's a measured move lower? Well, it's where you get a buy setup, sometimes a questionable buy setup, but this is a questionable buy setup. And what happens, I'm going to pointer here, the depth of retracement here, as pointed out earlier in the week, was too deep for a breakout. So it puts that in question. And so you got this pullback, and this attempt to move up. And if it breaks yesterday's low, it's not that far away, but typically goes down to major support. And at that point, I suspect, because of the weekly chart, if it closes down here, we may see further downside from there. But we've got this news coming, and that could certainly throw a wrench in any pattern whatsoever. So unchanged here so far. Support down here at the 50 MA, resistance up near the prior high, and these relatively tight areas that we've been seeing, they've been holding day to day. Since there's little commitment to one side or the other before we get this news. And so going to SPX, the average range currently is around 40 points. And so from yesterday's close, it puts a little bit below that high, a little bit above this lows, still pretty close. And last I looked, premium. Last I looked, Jake, I see you got 4,200, which is probably okay. But if anytime you can get on the other side of a whole number, do it. 4205. Yeah, if you do 4205, 80 by 85. So you got the whole number. Usually there's going to be a somewhat of a large open interest there, and it's not unusually large. 41.50 right now, which is what held in that area yesterday. At the expiration for next month is where the highest open interest is. So that could have a tendency to kind of, as things move up or down, to kind of drag it back toward that area. That's what happened yesterday. So either one of those, and the numbers have been working out if you chose to do an iron condor, but we tend to look at one direction or the other. But, this is about as equal as you can get with these numbers and where prices are right now. Right. NASDAQ's still up here, still looking good, unless this breaks below yesterday's low, which was the gap up day. And it's looking good. I mean, we'll see what happens. This power move down. There are numbers coming out at 10 o'clock. So you want to be aware of that. Some of those can be movers. Consumer, just look at it. Michigan consumer sentiment final, it says expectations, conditions, and 5-year inflation expectations. And that could be something that throws the market around. That those 5-year inflation expectations, maybe if confirming the ones at 830 that came in worse, or maybe they go in the other way, So this market, turns on a dime on news. So keep that in mind. Again, just technically below yesterday's low on these NASDAQ futures, it's going to be a failure, the beginnings of a failure. And you can see right there, I'm just looking at the cues. Keep an eye on that. And you see they're kind of inching their way back up toward the high of yesterday. IM is a disgusting mess. And you might say, well, why is this one so bad? Well, it's got a lot of stocks in there that are consumer staples that the money's been coming out of. And even Intel, that went down yesterday, but it came down to support this area right here where these opens and closes are overlapping each other. Came down into that area and turned back up again. And if you look at the the cash there, it broke down through the 200 for a little good measure and came right back up again. So, down several days in a row, coming down to some support. Looks like it didn't quite get down into that gap. Well, I guess it came down into the other bar there, the top of that bar. So was a little gap there. Maybe that's what was focused on as well. I'm just going to take a peek at the diamonds. Let's see if they show that. Probably do. Yeah, they got gap up there. So futures gave a much more clearer view since it was 24-hour data. What is it saying? Are you not concerned of a potential good news coming out making 4,200? Concerned every day, Rich. There isn't a day that goes by as a trader, especially intraday trader, that there isn't a concern that prices can move. I mean, and I think I mentioned yesterday or the day before, if we know earnings are coming out on XYZ, unless you're going to do one of these, fades with a credit spread, which Dan and some of the people in the green room do on a regular basis, you're not doing directional trades. I'm not anyway. So, you just stay away from those. And, and I think even maybe more so today being Friday, I don't know if they would announce something in the middle of the day. But this, it's different. Whereas, this morning there was going to be news at 8:30. And then, so you know what's coming. This kind of news could come out at any time. So, no, there's news. Some saying there's news at 10 o'clock. This is what I'm seeing. Yeah. That's there coming. So, all right. The Russell trading range hit the top of the trading range, coming back down. It's just a mess, but intraday, it's had some of the best moves in intraday. And it came a nice move off of the low. There was a nice move yesterday on the S&Ps down here, right down here. I know I did it. I didn't take it all the way up to the top. I got out up here. So as it came off of the low there, but retesting those lows. And one of the things to look for in a scenario like that, besides just coming down and testing the low area, is the depth of that move. So when you get the strong move and then it comes all the way back down to the low, there's a good potential for buyers to show up there and take it higher. And initially it looked like, I said, oh man, I'm going to get stopped out. The stop was down below here. And I saw that, and then it flipped back up again. I said, all right, that should be a lock. And that's a pattern to look for. And you can, not just futures, you can, that kind of pattern, when you see something come off of a low like that, and it makes a strong move like that, and it retests, it's a pretty reliable pattern that buyers are going to show up. All right. Transports are just god-awful mess down here. Doesn't really tell us much of anything. Interest rates, they're climbing their way up there toward that level up there. So I think, based on those interest rates going up like that, I think the only thing that's holding this market together is this debt ceiling news and what's going to come out. And, hopefully that it's going to be something positive. As mentioned, last year, as interest rates were going up like they were, and the dollar was going up, the markets came in pretty darn hard. And that's not happening today. The other things, this is kind of what's going on in this market. Wide range bars up, patterns like this just, initially failing, and they haven't failed completely, but should never have things come back down to a wide range bar coming off of a low like that, a power bar. They just typically don't come back in like that. So things are still messy. Nothing we can do about it. Like things will begin to come together after this news is out, and get more decisive kind of moves besides just some technology stocks. And the last thing I'll leave you with is this breadth gauge, which, seeing the NASDAQ going up as it is, and you see a breadth internal looking like that, you just know under the hood is garbage going on. That's one of the ways of, utilizing a internal gauge like that, telling you what's going on. So that's it. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, I think I heard CNBC. They were saying, depending on how you measure it, it's like the worst breath in history. And I believe it by looking at the breath gauge that Greg just showed you. Raoul, AMX line. Yeah, it's a nice 3-bar reversal here at the 50. It's what Greg was saying about the broader markets not being the spider not being a good buy setup because it's deep. So they're still tradable. We just don't expect a new high is all. And then also that's a good candidate for put spread. So yeah, putting it on the list. But I'm impressed with this pre-market recovery. This is my pre-market spiders here. Went down on the number and it's now 100% retracement. So I have a day trade bullish bias over a 30-minute high. Let's see what happens here. Today's Friday, of course, so 0 DTE day. And let's go right to earnings. Costco gapping down. Could be a 30-minute high, with earnings. Put spread 30-minute high. Earnings stocks usually keep the juice for an hour. A workday, big old bullish gap. Wow. The gap's too big. Autodesk 202, gapping on this prior high. This was the only earnings trade I did. I did a condor. So I shorted the 215, 220, and 180s, 175s. So I'm just bidding a nickel to get out of just the short call and put. But in terms of a new trade, we'll watch it, see how it comes in, but it could be a 0 DTE put spread if there's any juice. Marble. Here we go. This is what we call a gap and crack. Excessive move into earnings, and now it's a monster gap up. It's not the NVIDIA chart of yesterday. The pattern is not, but it's still in the camp of excessive gap. There's going to be profit taking. NVIDIA yesterday, when it started selling off into the market open, I looked at the calls. In the green room, we were talking about the 450 calls that expired today. We're like a $1.35, I think, when I looked at it. So same thought on Marvel. I'll be looking to maybe even 5-minute low because that gap is so big. I'll be looking at the call options. Okay, so Alta, wow. When you got to go to your weekly chart to see where it's landing, that is one nasty. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to put this in my list of excessive gaps. Excessive, I'm going to keep an eye on. 30-minute high, this will be a put spread idea. The opposite of Marvel in the video. On deck, this gap and this prior low. No interest in that. And GPS retail. That's actually a beautiful. Remember we done 2 days ago, MT Live, we talked about trading the open and gaps, and we explained how if it's liquid, and you can see the charts just as if the market were open, then I 100% rely on this pattern. So this is a buy setup and bullish reversal. Look at my horizontal line. It's at this prior pivot over here from Wednesday. And so that's minor support. So that is a beautiful gap trade right there. I'm going to put it down here. That's a beautiful gap trade. Kathy Wood talking about valuations. That's kind of funny. Big old topping pattern. I can't see where it's gapping. Me flat, no pattern unless it takes out yesterday's high. SPM opening flat, downtrend, no interest, and down a little bit. No interest. PDD. Here you go. Here's a shock gapper. There you go. All right, I got a couple gap trades here of interest today. All right, so this is going in a window. My other computer. That's what we call a pro gap. Now, it doesn't mean the gap can't get negated if it, gets slammed and negated, but as of right now, gapping up over all this, after this big downtrend, that's a pro gap right there. So I'll be watching for a pullback to get on long and another 0 DTE put spread. Now that's what we call a bullish gap. See, when we give certain names to certain gaps, like a novice gap, pro gap, PDD is a pro gap. This one's just a bullish gap. It's gapping over yesterday's high, but it would be a pro gap if it were gapping up here. But I got no interest because there's no pattern and no price move. This poor thing, Beaky. This was one I said yesterday. If it were to open flat, then just short yesterday's low. So now it's gapping down. Let's watch it. That's weak. I'm gonna put that on a thumbnail too. So, like in my head, what I would like to see is an attempt to move higher a little bit, and then maybe give us a 5-minute sell setup. But I don't want it to totally fill the gap. I want it to show weakness and inability to bounce much. All right, HIB gapping down $3. I don't know what it's going to do. For a gap and snap that we call it, like that potential Ulta. I like more of an excessive gap. This one, I don't know. It's $3 down enough to attract buyers. I prefer an $8 gap down, but I'll watch it. Can gapping down, no interest. DSX. So here's another one that I just call a bullish gap. It's not a pro. It's gapping to yesterday's high, but there's no price void, so no interest. Mr. Big was another one that I said if it opened flat, short yesterday's low. But this one, the gap's too big for me to be interested in shorting this one. I don't know what percent that is, but it's huge. Gapping to 582. That's an ugly gap right there, but that's an ugly power downtrend too. All right, so we had a couple of good ones there. Zoom, bullish engulfing support. I was watching for put spread. D-Dog, yesterday's low, call spread idea. Target, I'm watching to Climo. These are just bounce, counter trend bounces. That's all it is. Fizzler, I obviously like better because it's, had this power move up and now it's a buy setup. It's working on a 3-bar turn right now. Wednesday actually buy setup did trigger, but it's one we would never workday. Yeah, I did. I said I said just over 204. I like this as a put spread. See these real bodies over here. Yeah, workday. I said it's too excessive. It's bullish, big gap. All right, UPS, I like, this is a W pattern. Momentum move down, bullish retest. This example is a higher low. So over yesterday's high, that's a great idea. The short-term bottom is all the zero interest in a directional. Let's see what else I have here in the interest list. AMT. This was a short. Yeah, we're late to the party. This was a short here. The closing breakdown on Tuesday. Oh, AAP, we're still short. We're still short this beautiful example of relative weakness. This is what we call an end of day base. It's now gapping under it. So this was just a beautiful short setup, very easy management so far. All right, so you've got GPS in the bottom right. Caesars here. I have as a short watch, frog, long watch. This would be a good 30-minute high trade. Starbucks. We did a put spread yesterday. TEL is a short watch. AutoZone. This is what we call a potent 180 reversal at the 200 after a climb-o. I know it's an expensive stock, but that's 30-minute high, a long watch. ARE was another one of these REITs. Look at that. That's a beautiful bearish downtrend. ARW, a nice WR, a wide range closing breakout. This would be an ideal 1, 2, 3 for, I gotta say, Tuesday, because Monday is a holiday. Look at this marble middle, man. I was thinking there would be profit taken right at the open. I was wrong as of now. All right, this Beaky I mentioned, I put in a window. Okay, so it's still good.
Consider AI for a day trade.
What?
Trades. AI for a day trade if it trades through 29.
Yeah, big old bottom on the 15-minute chart there. UPS up alarm. And 67. Wow, UPS is spreading. All right, so it's only 40 cents, so we're not getting the credit yet.